Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Venti. Today we're going to look at ratio. Um, I'm using the Mind Action series textbook. I'm going to be on page 18. Actually, I'm going to start on page 15, but we're going to look at exercise 4. So let's get started. The first thing that you are required to be able to do when it comes to ratio is to simplify. So the most simple question that they ask with a ratio is to simplify. If they give you a ratio of 24 is to 36, what you need to do is be able to figure out how to write it in its simplest form. So in essence, what you would technically do is you would go for the highest common factor. So let me factorize these for you over here using the ladder method. So according to this ladder method, these are my factors for 24 and 36. So if I do my highest common factor, I'm going to write 2 because those are in common. I've got orange 2 and I've got a pink 3. So technically I have 2 times 2, which is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. So my highest common factor is going to be 12. This means that I can divide both sides by 12 in order to get the lowest common ratio. So 24 divided by 12 is going to give me 2, and 36 divided by 12 is going to give me 3. So in its simplest form, 24 to 36 is the same as 2 is to 3. Let's do another one. So if we wanted to simplify the ratio 32 is to 60. Hold on, before we do that, our definition of a ratio is a comparison, meaning that we're looking at two numbers next to each other, of two quantities. Quantities refers to the fact that they are numbers with the same unit. So the unit we're talking about would be something like meters or liters or grams or whatever comes after the number. So we're looking at two numbers with the same unit, and we're looking to say, what is their relationship? Which one's bigger? By how much is it bigger? Okay, so if I'm looking now at this 32 to 60, what I did on this slide was I did my prime factorization. But you don't have to do that. I did that because I wanted to get the highest common factor and to do one step over here. But I don't have to do that. I can actually just factorize over here. So I can look at those and say those are both even numbers. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. 32 divided by 2 is 16. And 60 divided by 2 is 30. Then I am going to say I've got even numbers, which means I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. Now the factors of 8 are going to be 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, and the factors of 15 is going to be 3 times 5. All of these here are prime factors, and I've got nothing in common, which means that this is my final answer. This is as simple as it gets. There is no number that goes into 18 and 15. So 18 to 15 is the simplest ratio that I can find. So the first thing that you need to be able to do in ratio is you need to be able to simplify. You need to take big numbers and take them down to their smallest possibility. The next thing that we're going to look at is to ensure that we have the same unit in the question that we are answering. So let's assume that we have a ratio of 2 kilometers to 800 meters. Before you can simplify this ratio, you have to ensure that the units, kilometer and meter, are the same. How do we do this? We use this conversion chart. This M in the middle stands for our unit. Now it can be anything. It can be grams, it can be liters, it can be seconds, it can be whatever the unit of measure it is that you are using. So we have our unit in the middle. Then to the right we have centidecimilli, and to the left we have deca, hecto, and kilo. So what is important for you to know is when you are converting, in this instance we're converting from kilo to meters, you need to know two things. The first thing is direction. Okay, so my direction tells me if I am going from left to right, I am going to multiply. My number is going to get bigger. If I'm going from right to left, I am going to divide, and my number is going to get smaller. So the first thing we want to know is direction. Which way are you going to go? And how do you decide? And the second thing is how you decide. So you need to have a starting point and you need to have an ending point. So in this question, we're going from kilometers to meters. So we've got 2 points here. We've got kilometer and we've got meter. One of them is going to be the starting point and one is going to be the ending point. Now it is convention for you to go from left to right. So if you got 2 options, you are going to keep the one that is most on the right. In this instance, meters. So we are going to convert from kilometers. We're going to go to hectare, that's 1 jump, then to deca, that's 2 jumps, and then to the unit, meters, that's 3 jumps. So we know from kilometers to meters, it's 3 jumps. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to change the sign. Not the sign, the unit. We are going to change the unit. So we are going to go from kilometers to meters. Now remember we said it's basically 3 hops from kilometers to meters. So I'm going to start with my number, that is 2 kilometers, and I'm going to multiply it by 1, and that 1 is going to have 3 zeros, and those 3 zeros come from my hops. I hopped 3 times, again 1, 2, 3, and because I hopped 3 times, I put 1, 2, 3 zeros on there. So now I've got 2 kilometers times 1000 is equal to 2 and 3 zeros, 2000 meters. So the first thing that you do is you change the unit. Then the second thing that you are going to do is you are going to simplify. Okay, so I start with what I have. I've got 2000 meters, and this is to 800 meters. Now I want to simplify. Now personally, I like to get rid of my zeros first. So because I have 2 zeros here and I've got 3 zeros there, I'm literally pairing them up. So I'm saying 1, 1, 2, 2. I can take away 2 zeros from both sides. I can't take away 3 because not both numbers have 3. But I can take away 2. So I'm going to divide on both sides by 100 because 100 has got 2 zeros. And I divide by 100. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to say that one cancels out with that one. 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 So what I have left is 20 meters to 8 meters. That is my first step. I prefer to get rid of the zeros first. Next up, I want to continue simplifying. So I am going to say, okay, common factor, right? You can choose whatever you want to do. I'm going to say, let's divide by 4. You can divide by 2 if that is easier. I just want to change it up for variety's sake. So 20 divided by 4 is 5, because 5 times 20 equals 5 times 4 is 20, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now I have got 5 and 2. Both of them are prime numbers. This is as simple as it gets. They do not have any common factors, and that is the answer to the question. So we did 2 steps. Our first step was to change the unit. Then our second step was to simplify. So quick recap. the first thing you need to be able to do is to simplify. The second thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to make sure you have the same unit. The next thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to find the equivalent ratio or to find the missing number. So in our simplification question, I gave you a big ratio, 24:36, and you gave me a little ratio, 2:3. We're doing the same thing, only in this question I'm giving you a little ratio and I want you to give me a big ratio. So I am giving you three pieces of information. I'm giving you 5:7, that's one ratio, and then I'm giving you 20:blank, that's the second ratio. And the question that we have is, what do we put in the blank? So the way that we figure this out is, there's two ways. I'll show you both. The first one is to say, what do I do to 5 to get to 20? And I say 5 times 4 is equal to 20. Once I know that, then I know I do the same on the other side. 7 times 4 is going to be 28. So my answer is going to be 28. 5 to 7 is the same as 20 to 28. Pretty simple. Another way of doing this is to write the ratio as a fraction. So I would write 5:7 as 5/7 as one fraction is equal to 20/x. Now my next step is I'm going to cross multiply. So I am going to end up with 5x on the left hand side is basically equal to 20 times 7. That's going to be 140. So now I've got one line, no more fractions. My next step is to going to get rid of this 5. So I divide on 5 on both sides. And I am going to say that x is equal to 28. And this is how I would do the two different methods of finding an equivalent ratio. You can use whatever method suits you, but because the one on the left is shorter, I prefer to use that one. It's also because we've been doing the same thing, because when I simplify, I do the same step. So I try to keep everything as streamlined as possible. Let's do a couple more examples of equivalent ratios. So the first one says 3:5 is the same as 30:blank. What do I do to 3 to get 30? I say 3 times 10 equals 30. I do the same on the other side, times 10. 5 times 10 is 50. That's my answer. 7:3 is the same as blank is to 9. So I'm going to say, how do I do to 3 to get to 9? 3 times 3 gives me 9. Do the same on the other side. 7 times 3 gives me 21. My answer is 21 is to 9. Next one, what do I do? I've got 15:blank is the same as 5:3. So what do I do to 15 to get to 5? I'm going to say 15 divided by 3 gives me 5. But now the thing is, if I do that, then I still have to start with a blank. So that doesn't help me. Instead of doing that, I'm going to do the opposite. I am going to, because I want to end my arrow on the blank. So I want my arrow to end here because that's the answer I want. So I'm going to go this way and I'm going to say 5 times 3 gives me 15. 3 times 3 gives me 9. And that's how you do equivalent ratios. In our next question, or in our next type of question, you are required to take a number and divide it by a specific ratio. So in this instance, they're asking you to divide the number 72 into the ratio 3:4:5. So I'm going to show you with a sketch what this means. In essence, there are 3 major steps that we need to follow. But let me draw it first. What this means is that I've got 3 kids. My orange kid has got 3 blocks. 3 buckets, 3 bags, 3 containers, whatever. My second kid has got 4 containers. And my third kid has got 5 containers. So what I need to do is I need to share 72 into these containers equally so that each container has the same amount and everybody has got equal in one bucket, but everybody's got a different amount because they have different numbers of buckets. So let's get started. Step 1 in what you need to do is, because I need to divide 72 by all the buckets, I first need to know how many buckets do I have, how many containers. So step 1 is to add the ratio. I am going to say 3 plus 4 plus 5. This tells me how many containers I have, and my answer to this is going to be 12. I have 12 containers. The second thing that I'm going to do, once I know how many containers I have, is I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide my 72 by the 12 buckets so that I have an equal amount in each bucket. So 72 divided by 12 gives me 6. So now I know inside each bucket there are 6 whatever, sweets, stones, pebbles, whatever's inside. There are 6 in each container. All right, I'm almost done. The third thing that I need to be able to do is I need to now calculate how much does each person have if each container has 6. So now I am going to multiply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my original ratio. My ratio is 3 is to 4 is to 5. And I am going to multiply by the 6 that I've calculated there. So times 6 for all 3 of them. So what do I have? 3 times 6 is 18. 4 times 6 is 24. And 5 times 6 is 30. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my final answer. So I have to do 3 steps. I have to add the ratio. I have to divide the original number by the number of containers. And then I have to multiply my ratio by the content of one container. Notice though, just on the side, that if I said 18 plus 24 plus 30, if I add them all up, 8 and 4 is 12, carry 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 72. This amount is the same as the original number. Let's do another example of dividing by a ratio. I've got 21 kilograms. I'm going to divide it in the ratio of 3 is to 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my ratio to find out how many containers do I have. So I'm going to say 3 plus 4 equals 7. The second step that I'm going to do is I am going to divide. So I am going to say this 21 divided by this 7 over here, and that gives me 3. Okay, and then my third step is going to be I am going to multiply. And I'm going to start with my original ratio over here. So it's 3 is to 4. And I'm going to multiply both sides by this 3 over here. So 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times 3 is 12. So each person gets 9 kilograms to 12 kilograms. Please remember your units. The last thing that I want you to know is what the difference between a unit ratio and a compound ratio is. Remember in our definition, we said that a ratio is a comparison of 2 quantities. So 2 quantities with the same unit. Now, a unit ratio is a ratio where one of the numbers, remember we've got a number, colon, number. That is how we write a ratio. A unit ratio happens when one of these numbers is a number 1. This is a unit ratio. If I have this is a unit ratio. So one number is the number 1. That is what a unit ratio is. A compound ratio happens when you've got more than 2 quantities. So if you've got a number, a ratio number to a ratio number to a ratio number. That there is a compound ratio, because originally we said we're comparing two numbers, but sometimes our ratio is divided by more than two. So I hope this helped you. This was an explanation one, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.